Although self-improvement is wonderful and every man should be doing it, it is certainly hard sometimes and even excruciating at the rare moments. And there is one reason for it all. The same reason why self-improvement is so beautiful is the same reason why it is so hard sometimes. You can either complain about it and have yourself and your loved ones suffer because of your inaction, or you can keep your head down and keep working to make things right and have yourself and your loved ones prosper. And so this is the hardest part of self-improvement. Accountability for yourself and your actions can be truly painful at some times. I have a story about this. Just last week I finished a shift at work, closed up and started to head home. And because my car has no heating and a leaking problem, the inside of the windows heavily fog up. So I get in my car and decide not to wipe down the inside of the windshield because it doesn't really help either way. And when I turn on the heat, it defogs a small part of the windshield at the very bottom. So I do just that and start heading home. I've done this plenty of times anyway, so I was confident in myself to be safe. So I'm making my way home and then I eventually get to the last junction before I turn into my park. And there is a little roundabout at the junction. And I always turn right before the actual roundabout and never go around it. So like usual, I look to my right to see if there are any cars coming, and look in front of me to see if the cars heading my way are slowing down. All good. Then I start turning and before I could react, I vaguely see a woman through the foggy windshield in my car. That night I had a woman with my car. Without getting into too many details, she was okay, but I don't know what's going to happen to me. Although I am very embarrassed and guilty that any of it happened, I want to share my stories to help my fellow men. And I'm not going to solely focus on what she done wrong and what she could have done differently to stop that. I understand what I did wrong and what I could have done differently, and that's what I need to focus on. And that's the most excruciating thing. I'm taking on responsibility for something truly awful that I've done, and understand the reality of what I've done, which is a terrible thing, which has caused me quite a few negative emotions. But I didn't need to do any of that. I could just say that it wasn't my fault, push all the responsibility off to the side and forget about it all. I would push the responsibility away to shield myself from the negative emotions. Because if it wasn't my fault, I would have nothing to worry about. Ignorance is bliss. But because I'm trying to be the most virtuous man that I can be, I take on all the appropriate responsibility that I can and see what I can do. I was in shock when I got home and I didn't even want to speak. I still got flashbacks for the next few days and I still couldn't believe that it actually happened. Responsibility is meaning. You take on responsibility for the world and the things in it. Feeling negative emotions while doing so gives you something to overcome, and gives you the opportunity to grow as a person and get stronger. You grow and get stronger as a person, which makes you able to take on more responsibility and make the world an even better place. If I were to not take any responsibility, none of the following good things would happen. If I was so crippled by fear that I push away all responsibility, sure I would feel less negative emotions than if I took responsibility, but in the long run I'd stay complacent. I wouldn't take responsibility or control of my life, and never use any of the available opportunities to grow. I stay complacent, I cannot expand my potential help to other people. The world suffers more than it needs to. My loved ones suffer, and my woman doesn't get her dream life, all because I stay complacent. But I have not and I will not stay complacent. I've taken full responsibility for my part of the accident. I even offered the woman £60 as a sorry from me, because it feels like I am in control of my life. If I take responsibility for the good and the bad, it means that anything that happens is my own doing, and so then I can actually navigate the world in whatever way I like, because I accept that the outcomes to my actions are my own fault. Yes, it's an awful feeling to go through any of that, but when time passes, I become successful, retire my parents, give my woman everything she has ever wanted, help my fellow men, get all of the JDM Legend cars that I want, spend all the money I want, take all the trips I want, get a Bentley, and become spiritually and financially free. And that will also be my responsibility and my fault, and I will take 100% of the blame for that. However, I wouldn't be able to get all of those things if I didn't take responsibility for my life and the things in it. I am in control of my own life, so if a set of decisions creates a bad outcome for me, I will take responsibility for those decisions and learn from them. Since if I didn't learn, I would keep making them mistakes and never improve. You need to know what you're doing wrong before you can improve anything. Because if you keep yourself vague and foggy, you never know when you're going to fail. So in short, take responsibility. Because it means that you will be strong enough to recognize your wrongdoings. Then of course change the decisions that caused them and be better next time. If you make enough mistakes, improve yourself enough, and have a purpose to work towards, you will get everything that you have ever wished for. It's not like you're going to make £1 million in a year for the first time and think, oops, how did that happen? It will be grueling to take full responsibility for the bad things that happen in your life, but it will feel so satisfying taking full responsibility for the good things that happen in your life. So please save the suffering of others and learn from my mistakes. I'm able to learn from my mistakes and make something beneficial out of them, no problem. But it would be even more beneficial if several fellow young men learn from them too and help me make the world a better place.